a couple of young ladies in.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh, there we go.
There, gotta get the lighting a little better. There we go.
Here we go.
Well, that's good. I like that sound. Is that your intro sound? Are you jacking music now, Shawn?
This week, yeah. I had one last week, and I'm going to have another next week.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good.
I was going to say, welcome back to the jungle, but this sounded a lot nicer. I don't need no more jungle. I'm in the jungle day in, day out, baby. I need the Paradise City.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
Fashionably late. I love it. I love it. It took a few minutes to get Dan out of the drink well behind him over there.
Well, I had to fill one up. Oh, the green screen's a little goofy here. I had to fill one up, but Oh, well.
And I'm out here. My brownies are playing tonight too. Not to brag too much how they did on game one, but I think tonight's going to be a good game.
Who are they playing tonight?
The Bengals.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we got a chance.
I didn't know. No wonder why I didn't know anything was happening.
And then we're playing the Cubs, I think, tonight. The Indians, the White Sox, the Indians, the game of the century, World Series, won 7 games, down to the wire. Now they're like on an 8-game losing streak. So I have to have Paradise City tonight. That's what I got. I'm like, I got to go into a different zone, but I'm still a Browns fan and I love them. Good God.
You're the only, you might be the only person that's left.
I've got a buddy. My brother-in-law owns a bar that's really fashionable out in Tremont, Ohio. Like Mayfield's been there. He'll get local celebrities from the news and this and that and the other and political people. And Sunday didn't go real well last time against the Ravens. It was like, I think he was going to ask if they wanted to see the Steelers game just to keep people around, Mike Callahan's in the house, though. Facebook Live, Blue Collar Recruiting. Welcome, Mike.
What's up, boys? Just a pleasure. Been waiting all week for this.
Yeah, well, I mean, 2 weeks. We've been waiting 2 weeks for this, really. We were going to do it last week, right? And then you had we went to the bullpen, and we got a word that we finished strong, but we missed you last week. So thanks for hanging out this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Dylan came in and dropped some knowledge, so I appreciate you guys having him on. And still practicing a little social distance at my place. My wife social distanced me to the basement tonight, so things have worked out well.
That's why I crop dusted this whole bar behind me and cleared it all out so I'd have it to myself.
That bar's huge.
It really is. It really is. Got a big basement.
What are we talking about tonight? Mike, what do you want to talk about tonight? Why don't you introduce yourself? I know probably most people have seen you or know you a little bit. Give us a background and what's going on.
Yeah, so Mike Callahan, I started a lawn care and snow removal company up in upstate New York about 25 years ago, believe it or not. Started in the trenches literally right from high school through 5 years of college. When I was in college, had probably 3 or 4 crews there full-time while I was going to college, and kind of came to the point where I went to graduate and was wondering, holy cow, where did the time go? And I kind of made that faithful fork in the road. Do we go the traditional route with all my buddies to the corporate world, or do we go the self-employed entrepreneur route? And was making significantly more money while I was full-time at school than I would have actually when I got out of college. So you can kind of guess where I chose. I went to the lawn care and snow removal route.
I'll bust in real quick. I lasted in the corporate world for 11 months before I said I'm done with this bullshit. I was doing real well. Go ahead.
So so just basically, we took that route, and it was kind of crazy. School didn't teach you how to start your own business or build your own business. So I made the fatal flaw that most of us do. I started this business revolving around me as a single point of failure. So long story short, ended up marrying a girl from high school, and I was working 7 days a week, 100 hours a week, and that business caused a divorce. So literally kind of hit rock bottom, hopped on the internet as most of us do and go to find something. I was on Google one night, probably after a good bottle of wine or so. And how do I get my life back from this business? And I found something called marketing automations and lifecycle marketing. And that night I bought an automation platform and going to bed, was pretty happy. I was thinking, well, I'm going to run this beach very similar to Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week, from the beaches of Thailand, Bali. Woke up with a bit of a headache the next morning and said, shit, I don't think this is really going to work. But I bought this platform. I've got no technology background.
The bottle wore off.
Yeah. So either I got to get rid of this business, or I got to figure out how to tackle this. So we bit little pieces of the business, the biggest pain points, and started to automate the business. Probably spent, I would say, a little over $150,000 traveling the US and Canada, and actually met up with a guy from Brazil, the experts of each part of automation. So whether it's text messaging, email marketing, you name it, we went out and found the expert and basically automated the whole entire business. And what we found as we scaled to $1 million and well beyond is there was 3 basically areas in the business that most businesses get hung up on. So sales, employees, and then repetitive tasks as far as delegation and management of those, 20, 30 plus employees. So that's kind of the background of it. Simple growth was never intended to ever happen. But it was pretty revolutionary. Went from 100 hours a week to 3 to 5 to literally an absentee owner of 30 days at a pop. And that kind of became my mission. And that's how Simple Growth came about. My buddy out in Arizona flew in, and he was big technology, and he goes, hey, what have you been up to? Like, we haven't really talked. You've been off the grid. And I had just been literally locking myself in my office and just automating this business. And we had a big screen, kind of similar to the one behind me here, up on the wall, and said, hey man, check it out. You'd probably dig this. This is what we're doing. And he goes, holy crap, because you got to start a business, sell this and make some money, but literally help some people. And I go, well, everybody's doing this. He's like, man, nobody's doing this, especially in the service industry.
How long ago were you talking that you started to get into, well, let's reel it back actually a few steps. So talk a little bit about how you got into you did a little bit, you kind of stumbled into lawn care. Talk a little bit about that. And were you doing, it sounds like everybody, you thought you'd be a bazillionaire, you start it, and then you scratch your head going, I guess this is, harder than I thought. So take us from that spot to what happened with that lawn care company, and how did you do with it? And then what?
Yeah. So it was very humble beginnings. I got to give a lot of credit to my parents. My dad had a mower in the garage that he used in the early days, moonlighting just to cut some grass here and there to pay for my travel hockey. My little brother and I, my little brother ended up being a professional hockey player, finishing up with Tampa Bay, captain New York Rangers. But the family was really good. They wanted us to be able to do whatever we wanted to do. So the old man was going out on weekends, cutting some extra lawns. So he said, hey, if you want, before you turn 16, you want to get a car, you need to pay for the car insurance and part of the car. So I said, well, hell, there's this lawnmower sitting in the garage, nothing special. So I went out and just started knocking on doors. No plan, but while my buddies were out, gallivanting around, I was out mowing lawns to pay for my car insurance, because that's what I wanted. And I think that instinctively just started this entrepreneur obsession. And like you said, like, oh man, I'm going to have 100 trucks and I'm going to get rich. And then, reality started to set in, but was blessed enough to kind of be able to scale a business with all my buddies I played hockey with as a really good qualified labor pool. And we would have fun, but we would work hard. And we didn't, in the early years, we didn't have employee issues, because we would all just go out and knock the work out and then go out to the bars or nightclubs as we started to go through college. And it was great. It was good money for everybody. And we registered the business and insured it. Obviously I owned it, but I mean, these guys were working with me and they were making good money. And then basically when I got out of college, that we had to make that decision, whether corporate or full-time. I think we had maybe 1 or 2 trucks plowing at that point too. And I really didn't understand the sacrifice of lifestyle with snow removal as well. But within a year or two after all my buddies that I played hockey with kind of dissipated, I was pulling off the street like everybody else, like literally going out to Craigslist or Facebook or whatever that was and ad in the newspaper. And that's when things got a little rocky. And I had built the business because no one told you any different. And even the college classes kind of assumed that the entrepreneur classes, that the business owner needs to be a part of everything. They didn't really tell you how to delegate or create process or systems. So long story short, I couldn't leave for a day, let alone a week, because the whole thing would have fell apart. So I didn't see it, because you hear these stories on the internet. It's real big now on Facebook. Oh, we got to grind. It's like a badge of honor. Like, hey, Shawn, I worked 100 hours this week. Well, bro, I worked 105 this week. And we don't understand how stupid that is and the sacrifices we're making. And I was so heads down that I didn't realize the cause and effect that was having on my personal relationship, my family, friends. Like, nobody was left to be seen. Like, they were all doing their thing. I was living for this lawn care company. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, how it started to roll out. But it was
you need a Dan Platta as your coach, because I think at least 2 occasions he's told me, dude, if you don't take a week off, I'm not gonna like get rid of you, but I'll come down there and I'm gonna beat you with an oar. If you don't, and I said, okay, that's cool. I'll take 2 or 3 days off. We'll be good. And he's like, no, you'll take a week off, and that's that. And he thinks I took a whole week off, and I did, yeah. If you don't do that, if you don't do that, you're in trouble. I mean, you're so right with that, and everybody talks about it. Everybody says you got to do it, but it's hard to do unless you have. I talked last week, processes and systems, but automation is really what the key is, because systems and processes are things you put into place. And I believe in them, and Dan knows this to the bottom of my depths in business, but that's not what gives you freedom. That's the stuff you put in place and say to your employees, follow these things. I'm going to double check it, and things should be cool. Automation not replaces employees. And I had this discussion with my team just this week. We need to find ways to get automation to allow you to do more, to allow you not to get rid of you. And I don't want automation replacing my staff. I want them to be able to have this creative capacity to be able to tell me what we're missing and give that human thing's never going away. But automation allows more of that. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, and I think you
tell me I'm crazy. I don't know.
I might tell you you're crazy, but not about that. So it's not, I mean, let's be honest. But
gotcha.
No, so that's the whole thing, that everybody looks at it. It's going to replace people. It doesn't. What the whole idea is to make sure what should happen to happen when it should happen, and if it doesn't, it pulls a person in to do it. But the whole idea, and some of the things we're going to be talking about, is the new shift in buying habits, and the new thing that's now being basically pushed and expedited fast. In basically, it's called conversational marketing. But the thing that we've seen in conversational marketing is we're replacing the repetitive and mundane tasks that nobody likes doing, and allowing your salespeople to work with the hottest, most qualified leads when they're ready to buy. And that's only one example. And like I said earlier, there's a sales, there's an employee, and then there's that repetitive task. But what we're finding in most businesses, anywhere from $500,000 to $750,000 and beyond, when they fully automate just their sales process, we're getting in their peak season 35 to 40 hours of production in the office doing high level things. So it's not the $12 or $15 an hour things in the office. It's the $30 or $40 an hour, or even higher $100 an hour things that now we're focusing on and getting a better ROI.
That's great. One of the things, anybody that's listening or going to listen to this, one of the things we're going to talk about too, by the time the hour ends, is more specific things. And Mike, I think you're going to offer a few things, some free things, and really literally to do exactly what you're talking about. And that doesn't happen very often. There's a couple of things you're going to talk about a little bit later, but can you give me so you're automating marketing in sales, obviously, and I'm assuming estimates, because Dylan talked about that last week with you, right?
Correct.
And so what other piece to it is there? So you got sales, you've got the customer service end of it, and estimates. What else is there?
So I think the first thing we want to hit on, and I think this is important, so we have time, we should definitely circle back and kind of recap and really dive in deep what Dylan said on a high level, and kind of give you the 40,000 square foot view. But my mission right now is to help business owners take their life back. Whether they work with me, they work with you, I don't care if they do it themselves. I just want people to understand that they don't want to make the same mistakes that I did earlier. And some of the stuff, honestly, we were lucky enough to get right. Other stuff we failed on and we had to figure it out. So right now with COVID, the biggest shift right now is in buying habits. So big question for the two of you guys, a little pop quiz. So if I'm talking about Netflix, Amazon, Uber, what if these businesses figured out recently in the last 2 to 3 years? Any thoughts?
Oh, I don't. I'm gun shy. I feel like I'm gonna get it wrong.
Well, I don't know if you're going to get it wrong, but basically what they figured out is how to create real-time on-demand buying for their consumers. So very similar to Uber or Lyft. So literally, like, we go to a conference once conference season ever comes back, and we get on our phone and we go and literally get, basically a cab, but now it's on demand. So if you went to a cabbie in New York City or LA, you out of business, they would have said you're nuts. But that technology and on-demand buying literally put them out of business. Technically, I mean, there's a few hanging around, but that's not the way people buy. Another interesting analogy is just to put it in perspective of what most service businesses are doing right now. In my opinion, if you continue to do business this way, the early adopters are going to run you out of town. Imagine it's the holiday season. We're going into a big box store like Best Buy, and they sell these massive big screen TVs like behind here for, a couple $100s. It's very cheap, right? So you got cash in hand. You're going into the Best Buy and you're looking at you go all the way back to the store and they've got all these TVs across the screen. And you're like, all right, that TV is perfect. I just want to see it. I got cash in hand. I want to buy it. You check it out. Okay, perfect. I want the TV. So you go to the cash register and what do you find? A clipboard. And on that clipboard is a piece of paper that says, give me your name, first name, last name, email, your address, your phone number, and we'll contact you back when it's convenient to sell you the TV. What are you going to do? You're going to go on Amazon Prime and buy that same TV and probably have it shipped to your house in a day or two. What most service businesses are doing, including my own, before we adopted this technology, is people have a static form and they're telling the consumer, we will give you a quote or sell you this product when it's convenient for us and not them. And this is where conversational marketing happens. So if you look back from the early days of literally down to bartering, what was the center of the sales process? A conversation. So how can we create a automated but personal conversation on our website to create real-time buying, no matter the industry, whether it's lawn care, home cleaning, pressure washing, general contracting, hardscaping. We've built these or helped people build these in all these different industries, and we're seeing amazing results. But if people are going to your website and not having the ability to have an automated buying experience, they're leaving. Now, some people still want those forms, so you don't want to get away from the forms.
I'm going to interrupt real quick, Mike. Let me push back on something a little bit, and that is you're using the example of Amazon. So we're in the service business, all of us, right? What about the home advisors? That's kind of like the Amazon, a little, not on that scale, obviously, but isn't that sort of like instant and it's boom, boom. And if I'm Mrs. Jones or Mr. Jones and I want somebody to cut my grass or snow removal, I can go to Home Advisor, click a button and I'll get these quotes.
But those aren't real-time quotes. Those 90% of those products are I'm going in, I'm getting a lead on my phone and I got to go in as a contractor and figure that out. What I'm talking about is going in, let's use the example of lawn care or home cleaning, because those are two really relatable examples, but we've seen this in pressure washing, soft washing, window cleaning. But the idea is literally you go in and there's a bot on the bottom of the website or in social media. So it'll work on your Facebook page, your Instagram, or on your website, platform independent. But the idea is it goes in and it pops up. The one I used in my lawn care company, we've been using this 5 or 6 years with snow removal lawn care, but it popped up as a picture of Bill Murray from Caddyshack with the hose spraying the gopher.
You got to pay attention to that. Yeah.
It was engaging, but it was like, hey, I'm Bill, Mike's automated personal assistant. There's a couple things I need to get from you before I can actually have a conversation. Now you can be very transparent that there's not a person there, or you can play the game that there actually is a person there. I recommend having some fun with it, making it engaging. And it says, hey, after I get this information, we'll get you a live person to get you a live quote. But the idea is we get their name and they plug in their address. So we just grab the street address and it ties in to a product like Zillow. And it behind the scenes within seconds, it's saying, okay, 123 Main Street, is this a real address? Yep. Okay. What's the zip code? Does that confirm? Yep. And then it grabs either the gross square footage of the lot or the livable square footage for home cleaning.
Nice.
Now you've got actually real data, but we're having a natural conversation. So we're asking questions back and forth as you and I are kind of wrapping here. It's not literally filling out a form. And the cool thing is, like, in so home cleaning, when we actually populate an automated price live 24/7 in there based on the actual company's pricing matrix in the back. So maybe you ask the address and how many maybe pets or how many people are living in the home. Because if you're working with like a professional Debbie Sedone, she calls it a dirt code, but there's certain variables that could take that cleaning from a really clean house to this is kind of a dirty scale. But basically, when you quote it, you can say, based on your property address at this, your one-time cleaning and your recurring cleaning is this, based on the square footage and how many bedrooms and bathrooms. Now the consumer's going, whoa, wait a minute.
Yep.
This must be legit, because I didn't give them how many bedrooms and bathrooms I had in my house, but we're pulling all that information off Zillow. And we do something very similar with lawn care. But it's something very similar. If you and I were just chatting over the phone or in person, we kind of replicate that conversation. And the cool thing with those bots now is you can process credit card payments or PayPal right through the bot. So if somebody comes in and wants to convert right inside it, it happens. And obviously we're very well aligned with Service Autopilot, and everybody knows that. But the bots that we've been building are platform independent. So I don't care if you're using ZenMaid, Jobber, Service Titan, Service Monster. We've gone in and created, and this is the key when we start to automate. The second part of this is it takes the contact record and automatically syncs it into your CRM. That's your customer relationship management software. So any of those and a lot more, but then it takes all the variables, the square footage of the grass or the square footage of the house, bedrooms, bathrooms, all that now goes into your CRM live with all the quotes you quoted, and you've got that in there. So now there's no double entry. And through this process, we're buying time back. And the cool thing is, so very similar to Debbie or a lot of the other companies we work with, it doesn't have to be all automated. So once you hit certain thresholds of them being a hot lead, it's going to ding someone in your office or shoot a text message or an email. How do you set it up, or you want it set up, and say, hey, Mrs. Smith is on the website and she's hot. She needs to be closed, but she's qualified.
I dated Mrs. Smith. She is hot. She is very hot.
I tried to date Mrs. Smith, but I never had what it took.
Well, there's still time, brother. There's still time.
Oh, no, there's not. No, there's not.
It's almost 2 a.m. You can't stay here, but you got to go somewhere.
Dan Platta, you look like you had a question. You did one of these with the beard.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, one of my questions was why would we not do this? Because I'm thinking about our own businesses. We got multiple home cleaning businesses.
That's what I'm thinking.
And I'm like literally thinking the last 3 weeks on our leadership calls, all we've been trying to solve for is, okay, we know like one of our gals is out for 3 weeks. She's having some surgeries and stuff like that. So we need to backfill her. And we're like, oh, should we use a virtual assistant to answer the phone or whatever? I'm just a math guy, right? I'm a bookkeeper. I'm a numbers guy. I just want the most economical solution that solves the dilemma of office capacity. And so like that was what my brain was doing. But then the question that I got to was, on average, like how much time does this free up for somebody? Do you like have a statistic or a ballpark of like, if you employ this, the person that's usually doing these things gets X% back to actually go do valuable stuff instead of just ask silly questions that a robot could do?
So I'm glad you asked. So this is like literally mind blowing. I actually had to double check the math. But statistically, if you've got a full-time sales guy or gal out there doing just sales, right? They're doing a lot of data entry. They're doing a lot of qualifying. What we find, if that was the case, you would actually get 15 to really averaged out to about 20 extra weeks of time, because depending on that data sync from like Facebook Messenger, the bot, to your CRM, to going out to, Google Plus or whatever you're measuring things on, all those different things. We did a bit of a study on it, and there was some other stuff. I've read a few books on different industries as well, service wise, and up to about 20 weeks. So can you imagine your salesperson having the ability not only to do more outbound, but literally just to work with your most important, biggest clients and just nurture them, and through expansion, upsell additional services. So the easiest sales are your existing clients. Mm-hmm. We can go out and through expansion, raise that client lifetime value by simply just being able to pick up the phone. But usually we're so busy just trying to cover the inbound leads that we don't have time to make an expansion or upsell play. But yeah, 15 to 20 weeks, believe it or not. And
I believe that. Because anytime I've seen it pop up on the website I'm on or something like that, but you know it's automated, right? And I'll sit there and I'll go, I just want some information, man, and I'll type in my fake email and my fake this. But it sounds like what you've got going, Mike, that's kind of, there's a lot of pre-qualifying that a human being has to do. Except when you automate it, like you're talking about. That's what I see being a huge value.
Yeah, and we're reading them out. So it's very, even if you're trying to play the game of the system, if it's not a real address, it kicks back and says, hey, Dan, like, looks like there might be, you put in to make sure it's the real address. So if it's not in Zillow, it's not going to let you play it. You can build in, and we traditionally do, we build logic in of zip codes. So is this zip code in our service area? So that's the other thing in your service business. Traditionally, you start in one nucleus and you kind of work your way out, at least if you're trying to minimize that non-billable drive time. So every time we go out to a new area, we got to start building a marketing list and grow the area. So imagine you've got your core zip codes here. And if somebody doesn't meet that threshold, they don't go away. We put them into your service, your service autopilot, your Jobber, your ZenMaid, whatever that is. And now we start to nurture them through a long-term education and start providing values. And so hopefully through reciprocity, when you're in that area now, you've got a list of qualified people that are looking for that service or using that service. And we've segmented it out and we go out, hey, Mrs. Smith, it's been a while since we talked to you. And unfortunately, you weren't in our service area, but we are now. And I hope you've been finding the information we're sending you helpful. But at that point, you provided so much value and focus yourself as the expert that 9 times out of 10, they're gonna be like, well, we got to at least give the guy a shot and get an estimate from him. So it's not only the people in your market and we can segment and qualify them, but we're not wasting that sales guy's time or sales girl's time estimating things that are out of your service area. And you can actually, based on certain thresholds, get that live person in there. So a lot of our clients don't want other people to know kind of what they're doing. But one of the gentlemen that has given us permission to talk about it, he's been on a couple of the Facebook Lives, is Garrett Matthews. He's up in Shreveport, Louisiana. And Garrett sold a little over $400,000. That's right, $400,000 of reoccurring revenue for the year in 4 weeks.
That'll work.
We had another.
Does he sell gold or what? What is he? A lawn guy? What's he doing?
No, so this is a crazy thing. Only residential lawn mowing and fertilization. No design build, no high ticket.
Huge.
He's got a good social media presence, but there was another lady, actually Debbie started her own CBF camp, $110,000 of reoccurring annual revenue in 2 weeks when she launched this. So whether you're doing it, you're working with a professional, doing it yourself, people are going to go to your website and want to be able to buy and check that off their list. And if they're not, they're going to your next competitor's website that hopefully has that. So I don't want to say this is bleeding edge, but this in the service industry, this is cutting edge. And it's just, people aren't doing it. And it's crazy to me that we had adopted this 5 or 6 years ago and it was working in our local market. And to my knowledge, and we've checked out all the local sites, kind of snooping around, making sure, I haven't seen a single company adopt that technology yet.
Yeah.
So
our industries, right. And one of the things too, that I've done a little bit of dabbling in some automation with our recruiting stuff and not only on trying to acquire new clients, but also sourcing, getting candidates to match with our clients. And one of our people on our team is like, well, what they're really dissecting. And I'm like, this is like mass scale. Don't worry about if there's one person in 1,000 that is a banker and we're only going after service industry. Okay. Well, shouldn't I weed him? No, that's what it allows you to do that. That's why we don't want to take the tweezers out and pick away. So there's a lot of business owners that like to get bogged down and try to understand and try to, get the tweezers out and look at things. Tell me a little bit more about, you got the marketing end, you got the sales end, you got the customer service end. We're missing, like you said, get to the website. And I don't think that's what you guys necessarily do is how to get them, the SEO and all the nonsense with that. But there's 1,000 of those people out there. And do you recommend anybody, or do you talk about that at all with your clients? Or
so traditionally where we pick up is literally when the lead hits the website or the messenger. The way we've tackled it in my service business and what I would recommend is it's a two-pronged approach. So there's a lot of good SEO companies out there with Facebook advertising and that, but I think the overall 40,000 square foot view, if you were to look at it, Shawn, is literally the first thing you want to do, in my opinion, and this is what I think was successful for us, is we cast that digital net. So we're going to go out and go through Facebook, just general targeting around the service area. We may upload some custom audiences, but we're going to go out and cast the digital net. So kind of like you said, we're not in the tweezer phase. We're just a whole service area. And now we're going to be cherry picking them, and that's going to drive them to the website or the bots. Okay. So hopefully we're going to close those sales. But now we've got clients kind of scattered all over our service area. A little squeak over here. So we got them all over our service area. Now we're going to offline marketing. So that's where we go in and actually build route density. So these are going to be things that I would recommend doing. So the first one is called a 9-around. Jonathan Potoshnik of the Lawn Care Millionaire crowned it. Josh Latimer has automated it through Send Jim. But the premise of a 9-around, we actually did 12 rounds, but we would basically drop a pin on every new lead and we market to the 9 surrounding homes. I'm recommending 3 to 5 times. If you do it just once, it's probably wasting money. We need repetition. We also went in, your competition's not going to like this, but if you're watching this live or the recorded version, what we did, and I'm sorry if you were in my markets, we actually took a pad of paper. We drove through every neighborhood that we mowed in and all the adjacent neighborhoods, as well as snow plowing. But in the mowing, we were able to look in the Northeast. You can see the lines that are striped from the commercial mowers. We wrote down every address that had commercial mowing, at least we thought. And then we brought college kids in January, February over break. They measured them online, and we did property specific pricing, and we did 2 to 3 mailings, direct mail. On the envelope it said lawn mowing customer. They'd open it up, and we had property specific pricing with discounts for 3 to 5 more people in the area. So we're building that density.
Yeah.
In addition, in the snow removal, we drove around, and you can really distinctively tell in the Northeast, if you're in the Northeast, of what piles of snow are made by a commercial plow and who snow blowed or shoveled it. So we had, between the two, we had well over 10,000 people using commercial services in our market. So we would go out systematically and drop $35,000 to $40,000 in a 2 to 3 week span in the spring, and just go out and track all the lead sources. So it became a math game really at that point. We knew we'd do our digital marketing, and then we'd go into the offline marketing. We would track them as lead sources. So what we knew is how many people came in for each marketing source, how many of those called and asked for an estimate, whether it was online or through the office, and then how many of those converted into a customer. So now we could play the math game. This is where business was kind of fun. And Dan, this is kind of like, I like geeking out with the numbers too, but I know if I got $40,000 for advertising budget this spring and I spread it across these things, statistically, I should be able to add 250 to 300 new clients or whatever that was based on the budget. But within a few percent either way, it was systematic. So we'd go out and cast the digital net and then go offline to build route density. And then this is where I think a lot of people miss the boat, is we're going. We forget about raising the lifetime value of those clients. So maybe a normal mowing customer is worth $1,200, $1,300, or in cleaning, maybe they're worth $3,000 to $4,000. Well, if you systematically go out 5 or 6 times a year based on the time of season, if we're going into the fall season right now, the things it's a little late for it, but I would be recommending is, if you do it, educating them around aeration and overseeing the benefits. And we go out through an upsell process or holiday lights or fall cleanup. But those are things that are continuing to drive the lifetime value up. And what we're seeing is when people go out and upsell through some of the processes we've made in our automations, they're getting 70 or 80 estimate requests in the first 4 to 5 hours. And literally the second and third communication, sometimes if it's not a bigger company, they're calling my office going, whoa, we're at capacity. We can't do any more work. You need to turn that thing off. But the work's there. People just aren't asking for it. And that continues to build the lifetime value and the route density, because we're not only going out and just advertising to our current clients, we probably should segment our leads, because every estimate that we used to win, we'd literally figuratively crumple it up after we lost it, throw it out and be like, how the hell with them? Well, you paid good money through the offline and online marketing to acquire those leads. So why not communicate with them 12 months a year, educate them what they should be doing in the yard or home the month in advance, and then go out and upsell them. Or the craziest thing that we found is we actually nurtured our canceled clients, and it's a compounding effect. So canceled clients, 80% of them statistically are indifferent. They don't love you, they don't hate you, but maybe a kid just came home from college. You know, he needs some book money, or maybe in Dan's case, some beer money, and he's out there mowing. He's out there mowing the lawn, right, for 4 years.
It'd be a hell of a lot cheaper to outsource that than to look at his bill and pay for it. Let me tell you.
Right, but the whole thing is, it really had nothing to do with you as a contractor. Right. The kid just needed some money. He's making some money, and then 4 years later, boom.
Yep. As long as you're, I mean,
they're looking for a contractor. Who are they going to call? If you've been politely sales pitched throughout the year,
right? So why not do that? Why not do that process and that system? You're not offending them. You're not, they've already, in the case of somebody that's left your service, they've left it. That's fine. Tap them 4 months down the road, 5 months down the road, automatically, automation. If they want out, they'll unsubscribe to whatever it is you're tapping them with. So it's not offensive. People are going to let you know when it's time to stop. What do? We say unsubscribe, right?
And that's a good thing. So most people are like, oh my God, I can't believe they unsubscribe. Like, no, like if they don't want you, let them out. Legally, you have to via the Cam Spam Act, especially if you're in Canada watching this. They need to double opt-in Canada as well. But I like a double opt-in even in the States, because that's a good list and your deliverability is going to be better. And why would you waste your resources on somebody that's not a good product fit? So absolutely don't ever try to bury that. Make it loud and clear. If you don't want to hear from us, opt out. And I'm good with that.
Right.
Sometimes I'm glad to see that.
Yep.
Mike, do you, so I'm going to pontificate for a little bit here on a observation that I have between our home cleaning businesses and our window cleaning businesses. And I'm going to follow it up with a question, because we tend to see that, like with window cleaning and pressure washing, we can market in a way that's like convincing somebody that they need it, or getting them to look at it and be like, oh shit, yeah, sign me up. I wasn't thinking about it. It wasn't on my radar, but since it's a one-time expense, yeah, come on out and clean my windows. Like, marketing can work in that way, especially if they're on your client list and they've got some familiarity with you. It's like, it might not be on their radar, but when you hit them with a text or an email, they're like, yeah, come on out. What do I owe you? Home cleaning, you can't really like convince somebody that they need it. Maybe lawn care is the same way, because it's a recurring service. Home cleaning is probably even a little deeper, because you're in their house touching all their shit. So it tends to be that they've already made up their mind, and then they go look all of a sudden. Like, maybe they weren't shopping around, but all of a sudden they say, yep, we need a home cleaner. We've been thinking about it. Now we're ready to pull the trigger, and you just got to be in front of them. So it's like, yeah, that's more of a pull versus a push, I guess. Do you find that bots work better in either of those cases, where like in lawn care or like home cleaning, where it's a recurring service and they're coming to look for you, they've made up their mind, versus maybe one-time services, they're just shopping around to see, or they heard like, and they thought, oh yeah, I guess I should get my windows cleaned. Do any of those convert better with a bot than anything else, or is it just kind of dependent on something else?
Well, I'll address the bot, but I kind of want to go back to your other point as well. So the bot isn't going to work better or worse based on what they're buying. It's the fact that the bot is there when they're ready to buy and they're looking for it. Okay. And it's going to get them the information and the ability to sign up, and you're taking them off the market. So they've made that emotional connection. At some point, they put a card on and paid for it. So the bot really doesn't have anything to do with that. I mean, when we were testing our bots before we really brought it to market heavy in January, my wife, like obviously, my wife's like, oh my God, are you having an affair? My phone literally was on my nightstand. I forgot to turn the notifications off. Between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m., my phone literally vibrated off the nightstand. But I don't know about you, but I don't have anybody in my office between 10 and 3 a.m. So, I mean, Simple Growth, had been utilizing this as well. And we're selling $2,500 packages over Facebook Messenger while I'm sleeping. It sounds like snake oil, but it happens. But the same thing with Garrett or the lady in that cleaning business. A lot of these conversions are happening in the after hours. And then during the hours, a real person's coming in and closing that sale sometimes. So it's not always automated. It's just getting them in, qualifying them. So I don't think the bot has anything to do with the industry. I think it works in any service industry, and it works for Netflix, Amazon, Uber. I mean, it's the same exact thing. Like that's how we buy. And with COVID, most people want a contactless estimate and process. So especially when things were really locked down for home cleaning, like people didn't want you in their home and multiple contractors doing estimates. So like a bot was just obviously converting way better than an in-person estimate. Now, the interesting thing, so you mentioned sending an email blast out or text messaging, and we can get into different types of communication, what I would recommend, but like, hey, are your windows dirty? So that you're exposing the pain, right? The bleeding neck, and like, oh my God, it's a mess. Well, that window cleaning has the Band-Aid. So like you've got the solution, you've exposed it. Same thing with home cleaning. You're probably exposing some issues with some creative marketing copy, via email, text, and maybe even phone calls or ringless voicemail bombs. Now, lawn care is a little bit different where there's that pain point, but now it's all based on timing. So if we're going into the spring, when's the best time to send marketing copy? Well, it's when you want to get the early people, like who are proactive, they're buying. So we want it probably a month and a half to 2 months before the season starts. And then we also want to have it lined up with enough overlap where the first weeds pop up or the grass is growing enough where, my wife's going, dude, you need to get out there and cut the grass. Like the guys haven't shown up. So there's the pain. Like, I don't care what it costs. I just need to get it fixed. And then the really late people that are like, man, the town's calling, you got to get this thing mowed. You can't, we lost a dog in the front yard. So you need to look at it. And that's where we found success, obviously in my market now, is we're working across the US, Canada, and even Australia and England now. We figured out based on each city, the actual timing based on their market. So when we build automations, we go out and build it, not cookie cutter, but we customize it right down to the market time of each specific service. And it overlaps all three of those areas. And even in home clean, there's certain seasons that we're finding where around before the holidays, people are looking for a deep clean. So that's the initial clean before the reoccurring, or it could be a one-time clean. But there's also ancillary things that they're looking at. So like, hey, you're about to have your family over. Have you cleaned out your stove or your fridge? So we're sending how to do it yourself. They take one look in that nasty fridge and they're like, hell with that. We're going to have a professional do it, or cleaning out that stove. So those are the subtle things in each industry. Window cleaning is a little bit different, but we've worked with a couple companies out in like Phoenix where they have like dust storms. So that's actually a reoccurring service in some markets, obviously commercial as well. So you got to base it on the market and what's going on. And we could talk about those dust storms in Phoenix. And now that's not just a one-time thing. Now that's a one-time need, urgency right after the dust storm, and a reoccurring upsell. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how we approach each industry.
Yeah. So I was talking just a little bit ago about how it's a mass thing. You don't need to get granular to my staff. Don't get the, tweezers out, but you can automate. Obviously it's the mass if you're automating, right? But you just said that you can do, by when the grass is ready to get cut in this region, when the snow falls in Northeast Ohio, but it doesn't fall in Florida. All those things can be very, very specific. And I wasn't aware of that. That's a different ballgame.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So, and stop me if you have any question, I'll just give you a high level overview. So this is where we went out exactly where you're at. Like, let's throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. Like, first draft's better than no draft. And I'm totally like, that's my game plan when I'm doing pretty much anything. I'm not a quick start in the Colby assessment according to Jason Cup, but I'll throw it at the wall and see if it sticks first. Obviously, we figured this out, and we've been automating we started automating my business about 8 or 9 years ago. I mean, we're talking bleeding edge. So we've figured out this whole thing. Now we've got well over 300 companies we're doing this with, but we figured this out. I mean, probably close to 1 million emails at least, and text messages and phone calls. But the idea is, if you're looking this in your business and you're doing it yourself, you want to look right from the beginning. So it's lead acquisition. So your website, you've got your form and your bot, and we want to have both. And then we have below that your office. So do we have a standardized intake for your internal office or virtual assistant to take in standard information? So I was talking about, how did you hear about us? Was it our truck? Was it a Facebook ad? Was it a 9 around? What was it? So we're tracking that lead source, and there's certain things based on the industry that you want to get. So do you have a gate? Like, what's the size of the gate if you're in lawn care? Home cleaning, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, pets, people living there, whatever that is, we capture that. Then we go in and automate the first communication. So I go in traditionally and I do a thing called a lead letter. So automatically the automation has tracked what service they're interested in. So we can have a personalized but automated conversation, and we hit them with this lead letter. And these are the 5 or 6 main reasons why your business is different. Right off the bat, we immediately differentiate. And that's through email.
That's huge.
And occasionally we tie into a product called Send Jim and do a hard copy mail letter. And it looks like it's a hand addressed envelope.
I love that.
So you can segment these things out. But if it's a bigger job, like design, build, and landscape, it may take several days or weeks to get to that person. So they've got an emotional connection. I can estimates. You would show up to the door and they'd have this in their hand and they're like, they're ready to buy. Yeah. But then the next step is short-term education. So this is where, Shawn, it gets really interesting. So based on the website or the office, we've segmented our database. So we have a personalized but automated communication. So short-term education is going to educate the consumer how to do the service themselves as a professional. So we're showing them how to do it step by step. Very similar to Marcus Sheridan's book, They Ask You Answer. Great book if you haven't read it. But Marcus was doing the same thing in pools as I was doing in lawn care. He was on HubSpot. At that point, I was on Infusionsoft. Yeah. Not comparing myself to Marcus. He's a mad genius to begin with. But we literally were doing the same things in 2 different service industries. The idea is you've educated them. You've created the higher perceived value so you can be the higher price person in your market. And the secret sauce is overcome any sales or price objections. So do I need to be home to have the service done? If it's outside, are you going to close that fence gate behind you so the kids and the dog don't run out of the house or the backyard after the contractor leaves? So you're shortening that sales cycle and you got a higher perceived value. And this can happen if you're trying to close them online. This can happen simultaneously or over a few day period based on how you're estimating in the service. And then the next part is the estimate. So how many of us are just so busy that we never follow up on our estimates? Yeah. So Dylan hit on this, but it's worth just hitting on for a second. Is we call this process 20 days to close. And it follows up for 20 days. We see a huge spike between 1 and 3 days, 7 and 10 days, and 17 or 18 days and 20. And the idea is we're following up over 3 communication channels. And it's phone calls, which are in a to-do or a task. So it's like, call Mrs. Smith. It's been X amount of days for her lawn mowing estimate. Here's what to say. If she says the price is too high, we've created a sales script to overcome the objection. And the most important part is really, if she becomes a client, do this in the software. So I don't care if it's Service Autopilot, Jobber, whatever that is, do that. Yeah. If she doesn't become a client, do this. And if she says, I'm price shopping, I have no idea, do this. So that VA halfway across the world or your internal office now is not relying on you telling them what to do, and it's predictable. And then outside of the phone call, we can go in and replace that with a ringless voicemail bomb. It hits the cell phone on file without ringing, looks like a missed call, and it's literally me. Hey, it's Mike from Callahan's Lawn Care. So sorry I missed you. Wanted to leave you this voicemail. We dropped off your estimate 1 day ago. With the timing is perfect based on the automation. Like, if you have any questions, call me back at this number or sign up on the online estimate. So we've automated a personal follow-up based on the timing of the estimate. And then we want to sprinkle in automated text messages and emails. And the email and text that are in there, more around the email, a lot of people say email marketing is dead and it doesn't work. I'm going to highly disagree. It's how you do your email. Yep. We can talk about where they're at in that life cycle. Yep. It's really good. But I'll kind of give one of the secret sauce emails that we put in these automated emails is day 2 after every estimate. If they haven't won or lost the estimate, this email goes out. It's plain text. So it's white background, no logos, no pictures. And it's a 2-sentence one in there. And I recommend keeping the little typo I got in there. But it literally says, hey, Mrs. Smith, just checking in to see if you want to, sign up from the estimate we dropped off. And basically it has like a little kind of candid verbiage, have a great Saturday. And it merges in the day of the week. The secret sauce is at the bottom of it. It looks like it's sent from your iPhone. So everybody thinks the estimator has literally 2 days after estimate gone in their phone and made a personal email to follow up on it. It closes at about 20% of all the sales right there.
I like that. There's a lot of things I'm going to try to talk very short but there's so many cool things in there. One is I like the typo thing. I love that because it's human. If you automate shit, it's not, you're
well, it sounds so obvious now, but we had multiple
10
paragraphs.
years ago, if you don't type everything perfectly when you're emailing and sound professional, but oh, it's so different now. I love that. I just love that.
But
That's just a little. So one of the things that I'm thinking, everybody's recruited. If you've ever tried to hire somebody, you've tried to put together a job title, a job description, you've done these things, and then you hate going through the process. So what we do at Blue Collar Recruiting and Blue Skies is just take that labor away from them. They know what recruiting is. They know what hiring is. They've done a job title. All of our clients and everybody listening to this has. But a lot of the people that are listening have no idea how to, do I look up an app that says I can do all the things that Mike just said I can do? What do I set up with this? How do I, it's a lot different to do what you're doing, but yet we automate the recruiting system, but there's a lot of labor behind it, a lot of things. So take me through. I need some help from Mike. Ooh, my camera just went. Oh, no, it didn't. Browns, baby. Browns are up. I just checked it just a little bit ago.
Go Browns.
I'm sorry.
That was a celebration-induced camera drop.
I'm sorry.
Wow. Dan, has he been over at the bar
again?
Yeah, he was over just off the screen over here on this side.
I'm going like, just catch it, baby. I'm not. I just checked the score once. So, Mike, take me through. I'm knocking on your door going, hey, I need your help. What happens from there? What do you do? What do you do how do we contact you?
Yeah, I gave you a link. We're going to be putting that in the show notes. But I think the best way of doing it is not everybody's a good fit, but I think the best thing, no matter the software you're using, what we traditionally do is we do a free 30-minute audit. So the guys are going to put a link in the show notes here, but basically it's a free 30-minute
I'm doing it.
And you can put it in there, and it doesn't matter the software you're using. So like I said, it could be Service Autopilot, it could be Jobber, it could be Service Monster, ZenMaid, lawn care, home cleaning, pressure washing, window cleaning. We work with most of the major platforms. But basically it is a 30-minute audit, and we literally go through and audit the key things that we see as success points in the business through your estimating and automating. And some of the stuff that you integrate on your website, understanding how that lead flow comes in. But Dylan that was on last week and myself do those. They're free. They're 30 minutes. There's no sales pitch. And then we actually send you a free copy of the audit. So you know where you're at. You basically get a score. So you may have a couple things that are strong, some things that are weak, but based on what your goals are, we can kind of point you in the right direction with some free resources if you want to do it yourself. And then if you need some help, we're here. But the whole idea is just to help people focus in on the most important piece of where they're at in their business and where they want to go, because you can't eat the whole elephant. Let's be honest. Like what I'm talking about here, A, is probably very overwhelming if you've never seen it, but B, we're looking at like 8 or 9 years of piecemealing things in and testing it and building it. So you could, if you were to do it yourself and you don't have any background on this, there's no physical way you could automate all this. So like our sales automations that we're kind of talking about as we get up to the estimating process, there's still two more major features after that where we welcome them, we acclimate them, and we nurture them. And then we go through a whole upsell and service renewal process, and train their office staff through video training how to use the system. If they're using like a product like Service Autopilot. Now, some of the other platforms we haven't built training modules yet for, but the idea is there's no way a person could just tackle that in a winter.
Right.
If you started now. So you want to focus on, if you're doing it yourself, the most biggest pain point, and then build upon that. But just if you look at our whole sales automations, the package I'm talking about here that we took at the whole sales process in my business that we're now actually helping people with based on their market and the timing of that. There's 130 to 140 marketing documents. They're spread across emails, text messages, and call scripts or ringless voicemail bombs. Like, let's face it, myself as a contractor, I hate writing marketing copy, and most service business owners don't have the time or just don't have the ability to do such. So we actually went in and built 130 to 140 marketing documents, industry specific and service specific, that are vanilla content that they can customize. but it's basically turnkey. You jump in, you tweak it a little bit, and then you tweak it right to the timing of your market. So I think that's been the success to be able to scale Simple Growth and help companies that aren't doing themselves. Is it's a turnkey done for you process that's complete with marketing content. And like in lawn care, obviously there's seasonality. So we have different versions for the North, the South, and Southwest. Obviously Australia and England was a little bit different. Those are one-offs, but those main areas can be tweaked right down to your market to the specific timing of the day you want the marketing to start based on.
You just start the email with Cheerio or what? Like,
hey, mate.
I'm still waiting for that call to do that consulting. After COVID's done it, to fly out to Australia, do a little consulting. So, if anybody's watching, I am ready. We'll work out a deal. Just cover the airline.
Figure it out. Take a boat. Just take a boat.
And the goofy thing too is I'm a big like YouTube. I go to YouTube. Okay, great. I just heard Mike talk about this stuff, so I'm going to go to YouTube and look it up for free. And then I start that process going, dude. I always start it, and I'm going, you don't have 5 hours to go through YouTube to figure it out. It's already there, man. So it's a matter of trust. It really is, because I'm cheap. I'm very cheap. And I really have got to be cheaper than more than ever, right, Dan? So it's like I'm pounding keys, just trying, and I find myself for 5 hours either on a weekend or whatever it is going, I didn't get anywhere with this. I got one or two things, and then something else is coming up. When you want to automate, when you want to make things turnkey, you just have to put your feet in the pool and dive in and go for it. So can you do something for the people that are watching that's a little bit less risky than throwing, here's a bunch of money and then hope for the best?
So we've got a couple.
And I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah. So we've got a bunch of So
what can you do for us? And I'm talking for me too.
Yeah, so our services scale a wide range, but we have like really basic stuff that's like $30 a month, just the 20 days to close, the automated estimate follow-up. And then we have 3 different levels of our automations. Actually, I'll let the cat out of the bag. We're actually releasing so there's level 1, 2, and 3. Of our automations. It's based on each size of your business and what you want to get out of it. So like there's not much of a financial investment as level 1 as there is level 3, and then soon to be released. So the first, blue collar recruiting, we'll let it out, the cat out of the bag here. We're actually about to release 3+, because we've got some companies that are scaling so fast with this. Now we need to give them the next tools to continue to do that. So that's kind of what we're doing. But to your point, you can start itty bitty, get your toes wet, and trust it. And then what happens is most people evolve. So out of those 300+ people, I would say 98% of them are on level 3. And a handful of them, I'd say maybe 25%, started out on level 1 or level 2. But once they see the power of the automations, it's demystified. Their office isn't like, oh my God, my job's going away. They're like, I don't have to do all that crap anymore. Now I'm just doing stuff that actually is fulfilling and not repetitive. So most people, businesses, to start out that 1 or 2, I think the percentage is about 85% convert to our level 3. So you don't have to dive in deep. Special we're going to be running just for blue collar recruiting, though. If you're interested in those Facebook Messenger and website bots that tie into Zillow, is we're going to run a special. So traditionally, it's $1,000 to set it up. What we're going to be doing for you guys is making it $500 setup fee, and actually over 2 months of $250 installments. And if they're interested in syncing it with their software, Service Autopilot, Jobber, ZenMaid, and there's a whole bunch of Launch 27, but pretty much anything that has a Zapier integration or open API, we've got people doing it. But that's that process of everything coming from that messenger right into your software and automating that workflow. So
now, this is going to be a very specific question, because Blue Skies has 5 different operating companies. Do we have to pay I'm assuming we're going to buy this. So do we have to pay for it each time for each different thing?
So that's a good question. So if you have each Facebook page or each website, you would probably want a separate bot. Now, very, very different. There's other people are starting to do this, and they haven't been in the game that long, but their bots are just per service. The way we do it is based on the bots. We sell it in basically three services or 10 services. So you can basically, for that one price, get the Zillow integration. So it pulls all the square footage in, or the home square footage, or other variables. And there's other ones for like plowing or pressure washing or windows, that there's certain variables we can pull from the client. But the idea is we can automate up to 3 services or up to 10. So yes, you may be getting a separate bot for each company.
Okay.
But if in that bot, you're going to get at least 3 services automated, or 10 services. And that's traditionally, so it's traditionally $1,000 to set it up. For this, obviously this show, we're doing it for $500. We can spread it over 2 months, no interest, to make it really affordable. And it's
Shawn,
99.
even though Shawn and I are on the show with you, are we still allowed to take you up on that offer?
Well, the cool thing is, if you sign up for the audit, we're giving one away for 3 months free.
Oh, booyah.
Nice.
So if you hit the link,
Well, that's a no-brainer.
Audit. You get a free 30-minute audit, and then within the next week and a half, depending on how many people sign up off this, we're going to give away a bot, 3 services, free of charge, complete. We're covering the cost of Zillow integration and all the data. And if they have a CRM that we can link into, we'll include the CRM sync for 3 months as well. After that, they'll probably keep it because our cancellation rate's like below 3% with these things. But there's no strings attached. So if you hit the link, you do the free audit, you get entered in to win a free bot. So, if you guys want to hop in and do that audit, we can get you in on it also. But yeah, it's $99 a month, support, updates on it, and the Zillow integration for 3 services, or $199 a month for up to 10 services. And it's, we've got phone supports, or help, basically we call it. And we have on our website, we have support from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern. So we're really trying to make it applicable, because I know obviously I enjoyed my time on the truck and running the business, but let's face it, our hours aren't necessarily, unless we're off the truck, normal. So we've tried to expand the coverage of anybody having questions or needing some help on that. But yeah.
So let me hit you with this one, because this is gonna take like I want to say this the right way, because if I say it, so what I was gonna say is this is gonna take like the utmost honesty or integrity, but then I'm like doubting your honesty and integrity. But how it with this like self-disturbing of an answer as you can come up with.
What's
I like this.
Yeah, self-disturbing. I don't know if that's a word or not, but I just came up with it. Why would somebody not do this? Like, what if somebody were to cancel it? Why would they have canceled it? What was the thing that wasn't working? Or like, is there anybody that this isn't a good fit for? Who shouldn't use it?
Yeah, no, and actually that is the perfect question. I'm not exactly sure if that was a real word, but we're almost close to 10:30, so we're gonna roll with it. So who this isn't for?
Platta Dictionary 2000.
Someone who
I'm sorry, go ahead.
someone who doesn't know their pricing based on a production rate. So there's 3 different ways we can estimate, but it's based on the company's pricing. So we can do an exact price, we can do hourly pricing, or we can do a high-low price range. So fall cleanup, let's just say based on gross lot square footage for home or lawn care, you probably don't want to do an exact price, but you can do a high-low price range to cover yourself and the consumer. But if you are going out right now, and I like to call it guesstimating, it's something Dylan and I coined from last week that was on, it's guesstimating. So there's 3 ways of estimating. So when you first get into business, you go out and you base your pricing on everybody else's prices, the market price. You go out, I'm going to look at this home and like, well, that's a $35 lawn mowing, that's going to charge. Obviously not the right thing to do. We wisen up and we look at it. Now we guesstimate. We look at the yard and say, how long is it going to take to mow, blow, and edge that lawn? Well, I think it's going to take an hour. And if I want to get $50 per hour, I take the 1 hour times the 50. That's a $50 lawn mowing. But we're kind of guesstimating. We really don't know. It's just eyeballing on our experience. So if you're basing your prices on your market or you're guesstimating, this may not be a good fit for you, because this is going to be based on a standardized pricing in the background based on production, hours, or a high-low price range. So what I recommend—
When you say production, do you mean like we measure production rates for our window cleaners and our home cleaners, like how many dollars of revenue do they produce per hour? But
different thing. Yep,
that's more of a target. We really price based on square footage or some like standard measurement. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, so square footage, linear feet, number of small, medium, and large shrubs, number of windows, inside, outside, or just exterior, whatever that looks like. You could have small, medium, and large windows. Long as you could define a variable and how much you're charging per unit and a minimum price. So like, I'm not stopping to do a home for window cleaning for less than $150. Well, maybe that covers 15 or 20 windows. And then we charge per window thereafter based on the variable. All that stuff is set up inside the bot. But if you can't define that, then this isn't a good fit for you. You're not quite there in your journey. You want to go into a software program. Service Autopilot's a great one that we can go in and track variables. And then based on the mobiles they have in there, and there's other platforms that have similar time tracking. This is the one that we used in my business, so I can talk about it candidly, is we can go in and say, okay, based on my guys and girls and my equipment, whether it's lawn care, home cleaning, we've worked with quite a few window cleaning companies. We can go and run 3 to 6 months worth of data and not emotionally tell you how long it takes you in the charging market, or standardize it based on production rate estimating.
We lost you pretty hard there. Like right when you were diving into that point.
Okay.
You hit us with like the last 10 seconds of that.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, if you're still basing on market price, or you're going out and guesstimating, that it's not right for you. So like if you're using product like we use Service Autopilot, you can track the start and stop times on your mobile and then run reports of 3 to 6 months and actually know what it took your guys and girls based on your equipment and your setup and the service you're doing. And you know, non-emotionally now, this is how long it takes to mow 1,500 square feet of grass. So this is how long it takes to clean a 15,000 square foot house the first time, or weekly or bi-weekly, or this is how long it takes to clean just the exterior windows or the interior and exterior windows. So that is, you got to have that non-emotional data, or at least have a ballpark idea, because the bot's not going to work for you.
I like that.
Yep.
And that's you're right. So that bots are not going to be a good fit if you don't know how to price your stuff, or at least you don't have you got a ballpark. And you can do exact pricing, high, low, or hourly work on the bot. So that's, I think in that opinion, that's where it's not a good fit. I guess the other misconception is that the bot is going to do everything. So like Garrett, pulling $400,000, or this other lady doing 110,000 it was in the first 2 weeks. Those are like, they're not like super common, but they're pretty common. But where they were really successful is when the office was open and when the bot said, hey, we've got a hot one, jump in. Because you're obviously going to close more sales if a live person in there is having a conversation. So like Kevin in my office jumps in. If you're on the Simple Growth site from 8 to 5, he's copping in. He's like, hey, it's Kevin from Simple Growth. I'm a real person. How can I help you? What problem are you looking to solve? And we closed a lot more sales that way, but you're still getting them off the street, off, on their mobile, whatever, in the middle of the night too. But if you're thinking like, it's completely set it and forget it, and you're going to have these like amazing results that a lot of people do, the people that are being most successful are also including a human element when they're qualified to hit a certain threshold.
You still have to work.
Right.
But unlike Home Advisor or some of these others, Thumbtack, whatever it is, there's 15 other people that are bidding against you and this and that. If you can close, years ago at the top, I was like at 23% closing rate on Thumbtack or whatever it was, Home Advisor. And that's great. But the couple things are, it's automated when you're sleeping.
Or when you're on the truck.
It's pre-qualifying. Yeah. If you're an owner operator, or if you have to be out there, which if you are, call me and I'll recruit for you so you can get the hell out of the truck. But it's automated so that it's pre-qualifying so that you can go after that person that's ready today and then follow up. But there's no competition with what you're talking about, Mike, because they're coming to you, they're coming to your website, they're coming to you through Facebook, whatever it is. And then they're telling you through your automation, through what you've set up, I'm a hot lead is basically what they're screaming. And then somebody's got to jump on that like it was yesterday. And comparison to Thumbtack or something like that, where you've got everybody in the world, 5-6 people. You don't trust Thumbtack. You don't trust Home Advisor anymore. We don't trust Angie's List anymore. It's just you going after them, catching them, and saying, hey, 10 of you went away. We'll drip that a little bit over here, but 3 of you are hot. And you know that. There's no competition with it in that regard too. So and to me, that's a big thing.
Right. Whether you're building yourself or even you're paying somebody like us to do it, at $100 a month with the integration with Zillow to get really good data, like, people are stepping over dollars to save pennies. It's nuts that there really isn't a risk. So like, if you end up working with us, there's no contract. It's, pay as you go. But like, once you start seeing those results, I mean, to me, it's a no brainer. And everybody's like,
I'm easily paying our office manager in any location $100 a month to go open up Zillow anyway. Like I'm literally, that the $100 of their monthly wage is going towards checking square footage of a property. So
now it's sucking right into the software too. So you got it on file. So we're past the hour point. So I want to like be respectful of people's times. And I got one more question, then I'm done. Shawn might stack up another one or two on me, but yeah, you're good. I got some time.
So they can get to the bot going through your website, or you mentioned Facebook. How do you, if we're shooting out an email, or if somebody finds us on Google, or we do radio ads, how do we funnel more? Like, what's the way to get them to the bot versus an email ends up in our inbox? Like, how do you get them into the bot?
Yep.
To make sure
I'm going to call them growth tools. So there's several different growth tools. So obviously we've got the website. So you've got a button on the website. There's a slide out, or you could have like a banner. So there's several ways to do that. You can have a QR code. So whether it's a direct mailing, it's on the side of your truck, it's on the back of one of your shirts, QR code. And then in social, well, let's just pick on Facebook. So let's say you're running paid Facebook ads. You just don't see it. People, ad objective is going to Messenger. The stupid thing pops up. What are your hours? How can I contact you? And what are your services? And the ones I've hit, and I don't want to say I'm like competitively clicking, but just as market research, I haven't run into anybody traditionally that doesn't respond within a few, like it's going to be a few hours, if not the next day. Yep. So you can drive your organic post with keywords like, hey, estimate, and it would click it up. Or you can have your paid ads go to the Messenger objective and it pumps it in right there and it starts the live conversation right there. So the other thing you can do is included with the Messenger bots that we have, we can tie in email marketing and SMS text messaging, all automated. So you can also text in to basically a vanity number or the actual number and start the conversation. So like on the radio ad, like, hey, text this number and put an estimate or bid or whatever it is, or 98PXY, the radio station, whatever that key is, and that would track the lead source and start the conversation. So you can really drive it in different channels. If that, does that make sense?
So you can do it literally via text message.
Correct. Yep. And that's with our bots. We needed, I didn't want to get into the weeds, but we tie in email marketing in there as well as text messaging.
That's huge.
That's crazy.
All for $100 a month.
I can't believe I found this out an hour plus in. Holy shit.
So, hey, listen, if you're out there listening, or you're listening Wednesday, or what the hell day it is, I don't know. Next week you're listening, click on this, just get the idea and get a hold of Mike, get a hold of Dylan, and ask. Just ask. I mean, it's so funny because the way that we prepare for Facebook Live on Thursdays at 9 p.m. is pretty much, hey, dude, I'll get you a link in about 5 minutes before 9. We get on about 9:10. For whatever reason, Dan can't get on because I'm in the wrong thing and I'm doing things stupid. I got my son over here. I got the Browns, and I'm trying to get everything going. The wife smacking me around. That's how we prepare. So I'm telling you now, the stuff that I heard tonight, Mike, and I mean this honestly to anybody that's listening, it's pretty freaking impressive. We don't prepare for nothing on this thing. Okay. And I know
we're just scratching the surface. We got to wrap later, come back on and kind of dive into the rest of it. Cause that, we're looking at 8 or 9 years worth of craziness and, just full transparency, Simple Growth, the company, about 4 years now, 2 years full time. My lawn care company actually got acquired about 2 years ago. It wasn't for sale. Whole different story there. But somebody wanted that turnkey business, and the old saying, "The price is right." It is for sale, because it wasn't for sale, but apparently it was at some point. So, but the idea is now in 2 years, this business, we have 15 team members. We've got a full development staff, a full help staff. Dylan obviously is on the sales end of it, but we've got people that have lived in these service trenches, and we understand. And I think that whoever you're going out, whether it is SEO, Facebook, software, I think the best value is you can find somebody that knows the features and functions of, Service Autopilot or Job or whatever that is, or Facebook Messenger. I think the unintentional niche that we've kind of dialed out at Simple Growth is Dylan and I and several other people on the team have lived in the trenches. We know what it's like to run a business, just like you, Shawn. And the interesting thing is, it's not the features and functions. When you go to build it out yourself, or you hire a professional, you need to know the workflow. How do all those little dots
He's in the Matrix.
Yes.
He's in the Matrix.
It looks like a mime right now. You're pausing, baby. You're pausing, baby.
It's that Northern New York internet.
software, the features and functions.
Oh, darn, now he froze up altogether. Hey, the nice thing is, I used to always think it was me, but
somebody off the street in a week. I mean, it's crazy.
Now he's back. You were glitching like you were in the Matrix there for a little bit.
Maybe I
was like this. I thought you were a mime.
No, I guess if it cut up, but the idea is like you want to look at a workflow, and like a particular software like Service Autopilot we used in my business, and we help other people. Am I still glitching this?
A little bit.
Am I glitching? Or are we good?
You're glitching.
Well, anyways, the idea is you want to get a workflow. Okay.
Dan, what were you saying before?
Nothing important, that's for sure.
Well, that's good. That's good. Elaborate on that.
I will say this, because to me, the sexiest part about this, like, I love the labor savings, and I'm all about the labor savings. But like we've talked about, it's the value add from just displacing the labor that's doing menial tasks to get them focused on value added tasks, and like taking it to the next level with the great customers that you have. What I'm most pumped about, no offense to you, Shawn, but I've already hijacked Mike to come on Bookkeeping Beer and BS with me in a few weeks.
I've heard that.
And the financial side of this, like the exponentiality, which maybe is not a word again, but I'm going to use it because I'm a bookkeeper, damn it. I'm not an English teacher. The exponentiality of freeing people up to do more value-added tasks, but B, converting clients faster. Like the faster you can, we talk about it in recruiting all the time. It's hire fast, fire fast. Like the faster you can do it, the more value you get. And man, just the numbers behind this, I'm pumped. I'm actually going to write some questions down in advance before we do it on Bookkeeping Beer and BS. I'm that excited. Maybe we'll see. I don't know if I'll actually do that.
I got to say this. I'm going to wrap that up right now. I will say this. We've been doing this for a little bit, nothing crazy, but I've never been, I know Debbie Sardone, and she excites me no matter what she does. She's just the biggest influencer on planet Earth. And there's awesome. A lot of other people, but there's I've never said at a point where we're here now going, we've got to do this, right? Have you ever said that? We've got to think about doing this. It's not like I said, we don't prep the show like we're something important. We just send out some links, but listening between Dylan and Mike now, and Mike, we didn't really plan on having you on this week. It was a couple weeks ago and stuff, but it's freaking cool. So I want everybody out there to click a couple things. Click like, love, because that gets about all over the place. Mike's been around the industry for a long, long time, and we've come in and out and have messaged each other and talked a little bit here and there. But but I'm telling you now, this is really flipping cool. And it's something that you just need to figure out and go, Mike, click, and then let him handle it. And if it's for you, great. If it's not, that's fine too. But I'm telling you now, you've got to at least click on the button or get a hold of him in one way, shape, or form. And that's all I got to say. And I don't say that.
Yeah. If nothing else,
I
just
don't know if I've ever said that on my Facebook Live. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. If nothing else, just check out the free audit. We can at least steer you in the right way. And honestly, you can do it yourself too. That's fine after that.
Man, the only thing that I'm debating right now is which location should we start with? That'll be the topic of our leadership team meeting next Tuesday. Is all right. Like, where are we going to start this thing? What's the most strategic location? So
I know what the answer is, but I'm not going to say. We'll talk about it.
Well, we're going to take, we'll get a little lotto going. We'll get a lotto going on who's going to get it first.
Mike, I appreciate your time tonight and super good information.
Thanks, brother.
We'll talk soon. Dan, do you know when you're having him on or not? You got it scheduled?
Yeah, we do have it scheduled, but
October
you
7th.
just put me on the spot, and I would need to know my schedule.
So Dan will get you the schedule. I'll post it on my bullshit thing here, and we'll go from there. Have a good night. Thank you, guys. Everybody out there, rock and roll.
Awesome.